Welcome to the Local Business Show. Seth Green is a nationally recognized marketer who is the nation's foremost authority on growing local businesses through direct response marketing podcasts, and the only person to be nominated 3 times for the GKIC Dan Kennedy Marketer of the Year Award. Seth will be joined by a capable cohort of co-hosts who are each local business marketing experts in their own right. On the podcast, Seth and his co-hosts brings together small business owners and other local business authorities to share with you their inspiring stories of how they started their local business, how they serve their local business clients, how they grow their local business, and how you can too. And now, here's your host.
So, hello and welcome to my guest this evening, Kaya. How are you? Nice to see you.
I'm doing well. How about yourself?
I'm very well. So we're going to have a little chat. We're going to talk about you and we're going to talk about your business, and hopefully we're going to learn a bit about you and about why I believe that you're a local hero in your community and how you serve things. So I've got lots of questions I want to run through. So tell me first of all your name and tell us about your business.
Okay, so I am KayaGasperich. A little bit about my business is we're Shenanigoats Inc. So we do everything from kind of like goatscaping, which is goat landscaping, all the way up into goat yoga or grounding with goats. We kind of diversify, and we like to call ourselves, we're like the concierge goat people. We do everything from like kids parties of you just wanting to come and have you cuddle with our goats. We do the yoga, we do it in schools. We do it basically kind of anywhere. And then we go from people's yards that need to be kind of like trimmed or underbrushed to actually bigger projects of people that need acres and acres of land cleared by goats.
Right, okay, and the name Shenanigoats, I mean, where did that name come from? How did you come up with that? I mean, the goats, I can see where the goats thing came in, but the shenanigans.
Yeah. Well, if you think about it, goats are always getting into some kind of shenanigans, especially with some of the goats I have, like all of my goats have names like Frank Sinatra, there's Popsicle, there's Blue Moon, there's Prince Alfred. So my goats are less of kind of like animals that you have and more kind of like children. So you're always getting into shenanigans with your children. My goats are always getting into some kind of shenanigans, and especially when you come and do goat yoga with them and you see all the kind of, we call them tricks, I guess you would say. It's a bunch of shenanigans and it's always fun.
No, I like it. It's nice. It's like quirky. It's a little bit different. So, and tell me about the area that you cover or that you serve, the region, or the, you know.
So we are based in Middle Tennessee, and we kind of spread out from there. So I think the farthest we've ever gone is into Kentucky, and we've done it at universities there because we come for people's like stress week. So we've done it for Vanderbilt University, TTU, Belmont, Lipscomb. And we come to kind of let students relax and de-stress from all the anxiety that you feel when you're like in a new environment. And the goats really help with that, especially how cute and little they are.
And who is it that you're serving? I mean, is it all kinds of people? Is it young people? Is it older people? Is it males? Is it females?
It's all kinds. We serve everyone. We're kind of like, we're not exclusive. We're inclusive of everyone. So we've had everyone from your oldest grandma that you can think of who can barely move, can't really do yoga, to actually today, I had a 2-year-old in my class who was just so enamored with the goats that she just kept coming up and like giving them little kisses. So we go from the littlest of little to the oldest of old. And that's the thing about our business is that everyone loves it no matter what, whether you're like super into animals or kind of just like coming along with a friend. Everyone kind of leaves with this like joyous feeling.
It sounds like a lot of fun. I mean, my wife does a lot of yoga, and I have to say, you know, it doesn't always sound like fun, the noises coming from where she's doing the yoga from, but you know, that's it. And it's a completely different angle. So what came first, the yoga or the goats?
The goats. So actually what came first was in 2017, it started out as goat landscaping. And then some friends came down and asked about like using our goats for some goat yoga just for an experience. And then the idea clicked about how popular and like how it was like coming up, especially in Oregon. And we launched our first class. I want to actually say it was in June of 2017. And we've just been going ever since.
Fantastic. And is there something in particular that prompted this to come up? Did you have goats? Do you keep them yourself? Where's the location you keep them? How do you house them? How do you feed them?
Yes. So it originally came about, and I will give credit where credit is due, with our original owner, who is Max, and he had the goats and kind of just like loved them. And the idea of goatscaping was his. And then it came in about the yoga, and it was just like, yeah, let's keep doing that. So we actually technically have two farms. We have one in Cookeville, Tennessee, and one in Liberty, Tennessee, where we keep our goats. And we have the two so we can separate them, especially during kind of breeding season, just so our boys aren't continuously impregnating our girls. And we still have our property in East Nashville where we keep most of our baby goats and their moms, so they can transition easy over to our studio in Nashville.
Okay, so at what point did it come from a passion into a business, and is there a conflict there between, does that make sense?
I would say that it was like a fast rolling ball. So if you say that we started in April of 2017 as like taking a passion and kind of going into a business, it kind of fast rolled into being more about business, and then continued into more of a passion, because now all of the staff that we have and the other two owners have just been able to pour all of their love and attention into the business and changing it from kind of like a workspace to just almost like a family. So we've been able to find a good balance between like business shenanigans and family shenanigans, and turn that into just this big passion for all of us.
Yeah, it sounds like a lot of fun. And I suppose, isn't that the best part of it? If you can make a business out of your passion, you're on the right track.
Oh, yeah. So like I was explaining, when it comes to our goats, they're not just like animals, they're like our children. So that's where it kind of went from, it was a bit like it is a business, but it was able to transition and be like, we are 100% a business. We operate like a business, but it's our passion. Our passion is to bring like not only relaxation to people, but also the loving caringness and kind of like the cuteness of the goats, especially our babies, to those that are, feeling a little bit down in the dumps, especially after the past year that we had with the pandemic. The goats have really brought a lot of joy and fun back into something that you just think, oh, only yogis do yoga, or, oh, I don't want to sign up for it because it's goat yoga. Well, we do more of, it's like I was saying, it's more about the goats than it is about the yoga. So coming to a yoga class, you'll probably do about 10% yoga, 90% cuddling with goats, taking pictures, just getting them to love on you and like nestle in your neck.
Okay, sure. So you spoke about your staff, you spoke about your goats. Like, tell me, what's the breakdown there? How many goats are we talking about? And what's the upkeep in terms of staff, and how does that work?
So right now, we did get hit during the pandemic and had a lot of our boys end up getting our nannies pregnant. So right now, I would say we probably have about 70. In a normal year before the pandemic happened, we had about like 40 goats. I would say about 24 of them were the nannies, which are what we call the females. And what we would do is we would break it down, and 12 would get pregnant in 1 year. They'd have a year off, and that year that they had off, that other 12 would get pregnant.
Wow.
So yeah, we're looking at about 70 right now. And as far as staff, we have minimized down to about, I say there's 7 or 8 of us. We used to have a staff about 15, but we're working back up to about 15 people again, and actually expanding, not only having it just in Nashville, but in the surrounding areas like Clarksville, trying to get like yoga classes started up out there and stuff like that.
Sure. Okay. So tell me, how did COVID affect you? I mean, what was the impact?
So we did actually, before the governor came in and basically shut down Tennessee for about 2 weeks, we shut down about I want to say a week and a half before that. And then we kept our doors closed up until October, just to make sure that when we came back, we knew all of the procedures, made sure that we were not only making sure that our staff were safe, but our students, our patrons, but our goats, most of all, were safe, and that everybody was comfortable coming back in and knowing that not only our staff is vaccinated, our goats are all good, and then that they were good. So we just wanted to make sure that we stayed safe and kept everybody else safe, but also kept everybody's spirits high during that time of, I guess you would say.
Sure.
Yeah.
And so you're back up and running?
Oh yeah, we're back up and fully running, fully operating. We do classes. So we have our Friday through Sunday classes, which are mostly combined with people from out of town doing goat yoga. We have our Mondays and Tuesday classes, which are for kids. We call that just kidding. And we have our painting with goats on Thursdays.
Sure. And in terms of things like, I mean, now we have to worry about your customers being vaccinated and all that.
Yeah.
Stuff. Do you have any medical concerns around the goats and about their maintenance or upkeep or?
So no, so before we actually open back up, we put in procedures that when you actually register for our class, you answer a questionnaire and you sign and you read all of that. And with actually restrictions lifting and our staff being vaccinated, it kind of just comes to in the procedure asking if the person has been vaccinated, and then they just get to come in. And I would say the only risk that we actually have with our patrons and our goats are the same ones that we had beforehand, because we deal with baby goats. And so we run through a spiel, I would call it, before you start the yoga class about the goats and their health and their safety, because I want to say majority of the ones that I bring are all under a year old. So their immune systems aren't exactly what they need to be for the people to be sticking their fingers in their mouth and all that. And we just don't encourage that in the first place, just because, you wouldn't stick your finger in a human baby's mouth. Why would you do it to a goat? No. So yeah, we don't have any, I would say, fears as far as medically goes with our goats right now, just because we've covered all our bases. And that's why we stayed shut down for so long, is just because we wanted to make sure when we came back, we weren't just opening up our doors because we needed to work and we need to get back in business, but we opened up our doors because we knew that we were ready, like mentally and physically, and that we were doing everything to keep ourselves safe, our goats safe, and our patrons safe, no matter what. So that's why I would say we shut down for that long.
Lots of different businesses during the pandemic looked at different ways to run their business, like online, right? So, I mean, I know my wife does yoga online on Zoom calls and things like that. Is that something that translates? Is it something you considered, or did you do that at all? Or
yeah, so actually what we did is, so we didn't do Zoom because you don't get the same effects of doing like a Zoom yoga class with goats. We started offering small pod classes where you could pay us to come out with an instructor and I'd say about 2 to 3 goats. And you would get a on location goat yoga class for you and your friends at your house. And we did that to kind of like sublimate and just figure out a different way to not completely just be like, we're closing forever. And we actually still do that now to this day. And we just do private events where people will call up and be like, hey, do you do it at Airbnbs? We're coming in town. We're like, if your Airbnb person is okay with it, then we do.
Yeah, I suppose it does force people to be a little bit more creative about their business and what they can do. And, certainly business owners have struggled and found it difficult. And that translation, I mean, the world has changed and everything we're doing. And, so how do you promote? I imagine a lot of it's word of mouth. Is it something you do beyond that? Do you do things online to promote yourselves online?
Yeah, so obviously it is word of mouth. Also, it's like Instagram, Facebook. We do advertisements. We also do like little promotions. We do kind of like trying to give back to the community. So we work with the USO and trying to help make sure that military personnel can come and get that relaxation. And Honestly, a lot of it has, other than the like advertising we do on our own, it has been word of mouth and people just finding us by sheer coincidence of like Googling things to do in Nashville. Or one woman actually found us because somebody took one of our shirts to a thrift store and she just thought it was a cool logo and like Googled it to see if she could find that store. And turns out we're actually a goat yoga place. And she was like, I'm coming. And she told 20 of her friends, she was like, we're all coming. And I was like, we're here.
No,
We're
it
alive.
sounds like tremendous fun. A couple of things there you mentioned there, like your community, first of all. So,
Yeah.
what does your community make of you, and how do you interact with your local community?
So we try to be involved in kind of all things in the community because we're not only like Black owned, LGBTQ, and Nashville natives. I was born in Tennessee and raised in Nashville for majority of my life. So I've always wanted to give back to our community, especially in the kind of neighborhood that we are. So our community is very accepting of us. Like we have trunk or treat for the kids where we'll bring out kids that are kind of like at risk or don't actually have the opportunity to go to these big nice neighborhoods and trick or treat, and they can't do it in their own neighborhood because it's like a dangerous kind of thing. So we're always trying to be more involved in our community as is, and they've for the most part have been very accepting and opening to the ideas and the viewpoints that we have come like as Shenanigoats.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And you also mentioned that you do different things for your military, do discounts and things like that, or
Yeah, so we do discounts. Oh, I also forgot to mention, like working with not Habitat for Humanity, the Humane Society for Animals, where they're like some of our biggest like cheerleaders as well, just because they love our animals and we love them. Working with like local businesses that want us to come out just because we are Shenanigoats, and that's just like the cutest thing that they ever heard of. Your question
yeah,
was.
about military and discounts and things like that. You're obviously very inclusive.
Yes. So we do military discounts, we do student discounts, we do all of that. And the reason is because I'm a military wife, and it was kind of just like in my heart to be like, you know, I know that there are individuals that don't exactly want to go to their quote unquote therapy,
Sure.
but hey, they're definitely willing to drag their wife to an hour-long goat yoga session and get out some of that like anxiety and stress that they have. And it's been tremendous for my husband to be able to get out, interact with the goats, and basically get to forget about his day job.
That's great. And Kaya, tell me about a little bit more about that. I mean, about the benefits that come around with not just from yoga, but also with working with animals.
Yeah, so obviously there's been plenty of studies about like working with different animals. That's why they've had like places like Japan, they have cat cafes where you can go in and you sip coffee and tea and you have it with cats. There are animal shelters or animal places that have specific days for you to come in and just cuddle with a goat. I mean, not a goat, with a dog. And it's the same kind of release you get when you have these animals, because these animals aren't like humans. They're not judging. They're just there to comfort you and give you that kind of endorphins that you need, and not the stressful like endorphins that you think of when you're like, oh, I work a 9 to 5, I'm stressed out. They get to sit in your lap. You get to just be there in that moment and forget about everything else that's going on outside of the world. And they make that very easy. They
No,
make it easy to be in the moment and relax.
that's fantastic. And you mentioned your team, the people you work
Yes.
with, so is there anybody in particular you'd like to call out or mention, or, who's fundamental to the operation and the running of your business?
My husband and my mom and her partner are all very fundamental. My husband is like he's like my grounding stone. Like for him, he didn't sign on to Shenanigoats like I did, but when it comes to Shenanigoats, he is always just there for it. He's like, hey, whatever it needs, I'm here. He will help out. He'll get up on a Saturday when he doesn't have to come to Nashville with me, and he'll goat herd, even though he knows nothing about it. He will be there just all smiles and the passion. actually, it brings me back to passion, is you talked about like business and passion. And the first time that I actually got to see some real passion into it was an event that I dragged my husband along with because I needed an extra herder. And the sheer passion and enjoyment that he had from just getting to stand outside in the like 90-degree Tennessee humidity heat and talk to people about our goats. And that was my passion coming through. Him seeing, like, me getting to see him be passionate about something that I'm turning into my business and my passion and my love and my life and my career, building generational wealth for my children's.
Love it. And look, what's his name? Let's give him a shout out.
His name is Joseph Gasperich, hailing from Michigan.
Fantastic. Now listen, Kaya, I couldn't let you go with that. I've no doubt. Normally, what we do is we ask, do you have any stories? Now, you can't tell me you don't have one or two stories involving goats.
Oh my gosh, I have so many stories. I could tell you a million of them.
Give me one good one, one bad one.
Okay, I have a goat named Millennial, and it's a play on word. My mom named him Millennial because his mom's name is Boomer. So the joke is, I'm a millennial, my mom's a boomer. And the best story about him is he is just the biggest cuddle bug you have ever met. Super pretty. He's a all white, blue-eyed, pulled horn goat. And what that means is that he just doesn't have any horns. Okay. And that's what our goats are called when they don't have horns that come in. They're called pulled. And the cute story about him is when he first started class, he was kind of like a shy, kind of hesitant goat. But as he started to get towards the end, and he's currently at summer camp giving the kids at Camp Whippoorwill a run for their money, but he would fall asleep on people's backs. So they would be in a tabletop position and he would just like flat out kick his legs out, and he wouldn't move. And we actually had to get to the point of telling people in class, if you don't want him on your back, just let us know. But if not, he will stay there for the whole entire class. He will not move. And that is you're his new couch.
Fantastic. And what about, so tell me about, how do people get in touch with you? Where can they find you?
So they can actually find us on Instagram. They can find us on Facebook. They can find us at shenanigoats.com. And that actually has all of our information and all about us and all that kind of stuff. I suggest people finding us on Facebook because you'll find tons and tons of pictures that people have tagged us in, told about their experiences and how much they enjoyed it and how it was like kismet that they met us.
Sure, fine. And one more question I want to ask you is, like, normally what I would say is, like, if you had to recommend, if you were looking for a goat yoga, what's the one thing you advise people for? But in this case, it's goats and yoga. So what separates you from everybody else, I suppose? Well, there's no doubt it's the goats. But if there's one thing that you could say to your customers, what's the one thing that you would mention to them?
We're not just a business, we're a family. So when you come in and you register for one of our classes, you don't leave as one of our customers. You leave as a Shenanigoat family member. We are it's just a different environment. We built our business around the environment of being inclusive of everyone. So when you come in, you feel that love and laughter and excitement and joy that Shenanigoats has to bring to the table. And we're not above helping and working with people as far as anything goes.
Fabulous. And when they come, how long do they come for? Is it sessions for an hour or 30 minutes, or is it?
Yeah. So our sessions are an hour long, and we actually have repeat customers. So people that'll sign up and come every 2 weeks or twice a month. And then we have people that come once and then they keep recommending it to their friends and their families, and then they bring them back, and then it's more and more. And we also, obviously, because we are Nashville, Tennessee, we have our bachelors and our bachelorettes, so we love them.
And how does it work in terms of the pricing for like one visit? And then do you have like a membership thing, or do you a way of them for those repeat customers?
Yeah, so for like one class, we charge $35 a ticket. And then our memberships are $150. And people, well, we haven't had as many memberships sign up at this year, but we're kind of looking into a lot more things to offer. we're actually starting this fall. We're going to be offering, it's a Saturday movies with the goats. So you come in your pajamas, the goats are in their pajamas, and you watch a classic movie. And we have concessions and all that kind of stuff.
Well, that's fantastic. Listen, Kaya, thank you so much. Kaya from Shenanigoats. So I've no doubt that lots of people will be in touch with you and to find out more about you and your business. And I wish you all the success and everything. So thank you very much for your time today.
Thank you.